Welcome back to the channel. You're probably familiar with the famous story of David and Goliath, where Goliath, the giant, played a significant role. While people generally know the origin and journey of the biblical character David, they often lack information about Goliath's life and true history. In this video, I will provide insights into Goliath's origin, the meaning of his name, his association with the extinct race of giants called the Raphaedas or Riphanes, his brothers, and more. If you're already subscribed to the channel, please leave a like to show your support. If you're new here, I encourage you to watch the video if it interests you, leave a like, and consider subscribing so you don't miss our upcoming content. Now, let's uncover the mysteries surrounding Goliath, the giant from the Bible. Goliath, a prominent figure from the Old Testament, is described in the book of Samuel as an immense giant. He met his defeat in single combat against the young David. This account in the book of Samuel highlights the ineptitude of King Saul of Israel in both ruling and facing the giant Goliath. According to the Bible, Saul and the Israelites confronted the Philistines in the valley of Elah, engaging in 2 battles each day for 40 consecutive days, both in the morning and at night. Goliath, the giant and champion of the Philistines, stepped forward from the Philistine army and challenged the Israelites to send a champion to engage in single combat against him. Saul was afraid of this challenge, but David fearlessly accepted the task. Saul reluctantly offered his armor to David, who declined and chose to take only his staff, a sling, and 5 stones from a nearby stream. David and Goliath faced each other, with Goliath wearing his armor and wielding a dart, while David armed himself with his staff and sling. The Philistine cursed David multiple times in the name of his gods, but David confidently declared, "Today the Lord will deliver you into my hands, and I will offer the corpses of the Philistine army to the birds of heaven and the beasts of the earth. Then all the earth will know that there is a God in Israel, and all the congregation will know that God does not save with sword and spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will deliver you into our hand." David then hurled a stone from his sling, striking Goliath in the center of his forehead. Goliath immediately fell to the ground, and David swiftly severed his head. Following David's victory over Goliath, the Philistines fled, and the Israelites pursued them to the city of Gath and the gates of Ekron. David took Goliath's armor to his own tent and brought the giant's head to Jerusalem. Saul commanded Abner to bring the young man named David before him, and the king inquired about David's father. David replied that he was the son of Jesse the Bethlehemite. It's worth noting that those who are familiar with the story of David and Goliath often have limited knowledge about Goliath's life and origins. Contrary to popular belief, Goliath, commonly referred to as a Philistine giant, did not belong to the Philistine people. He was a member of a formidable group known as the Raphaedas or Riphanes, a race of giants that did not originate from biblical lineages. Goliath represented this clan, along with other giants such as the Anakins, Zunzins, and Zanzimans, after the flood. These giants were not connected to the lineages described in the sacred scriptures that emerged after the flood. They stood out for their impressive size. An interesting fact about Goliath's life, in addition to his account in the book of Samuel, is that there are mentions of other giants who lived during the same time as him and were his brothers from the same race, known as the Rephate. Goliath had 5 brothers from the Rephate race, just like him, making him part of the sons of giants. He was not an ordinary or typical person, particularly due to his extraordinary height, stature, and incredible physical strength, distinguishing him from the common people of Israel, the Philistines, and other Canaanite peoples. The name Goliath carries the meaning of a soothsayer, exiled sorcerer, or even a witch, shedding light on his identity and beliefs as someone devoted to various entities and pagan gods. His name is associated with the concept of divination. Some rabbis claim that Goliath's sword possessed wondrous powers, adding an element of curiosity to his story. The giant brothers of Goliath, who belonged to the same race as him, had names like Lami and Isbibenob. Additionally, Goliath had another brother with the same race and name. However, the name of a third brother from this race is unspecified. There is speculation that this unknown brother was the greatest among all the giants. According to biblical accounts, this brother had an impressive stature, described as extraordinarily tall, and had 6 fingers on each hand and foot. As for the origin of giants, I plan to create a series of videos in the future exploring details about the origin of different races of giants mentioned in the Bible, including the ancient Nephilim. As a preview, Goliath descended from the children of the giants and the Nephilim. The Nephilim were the result of literal unions between fallen angels, demons, and human women, giving rise to giants. The Nephilim were considered not only giants but also monstrous deformities on earth. This is the oldest interpretation found in biblical manuscripts regarding the origin of giants. Although there are other interpretations discussed in my video on the pre-diluvial period, which I will link in the description. I respect both versions and encourage you to share your opinion in the comments. An intriguing aspect of the giant Goliath is his stature and height. Over time, several estimates have been proposed regarding this. In the biblical text, it is mentioned that Goliath was 6 cubits tall, or 6 cubits, and a span. It is important to note that cubits varied in size across different regions, such as the Middle East, Africa, Greece, and Rome. A cubit is measured from the elbow to the second finger after the little finger. The size of the cubit can vary among different ethnicities and populations due to variations in limb proportions. For instance, indigenous people tend to have shorter stature and smaller limbs, resulting in a correspondingly smaller cubit. On the other hand, certain African populations have longer arms and more elongated bodies, leading to a slightly larger cubit compared to that of indigenous people. This serves as a general illustration, highlighting the fact that many Bibles contain errors in setting weights, measurements, and sizes. One example of such confusion can be found in the distinction between the New Testament cubit and the Old Testament cubit. The New Testament cubit, also known as the Greco-Roman cubit, measures approximately 47 to 48 centimeters. In contrast, the Hebrew cubit used by the Israelites in ancient times was quite different. According to historical measurements, the Hebrew cubit, or Israelite cubit, was about 54 centimeters. Consequently, if we consider Goliath's height as 6 cubits and a span, including a span being half a cubit, it would amount to approximately 3.51 meters based on the Masoretic text, which is the most commonly used version of the Bible. In the Masoretic text, Goliath's height is mentioned as 6 cubits, equivalent to 3 meters and 51 centimeters. However, another text, the Dead Sea Scrolls, presents a different height for Goliath, stating only 4 cubits and a span, which corresponds to approximately 2 meters and 43 centimeters. Various scholars propose alternative height estimates for the giant Goliath using different measurements of cubits. Among the main proposed heights, the Masoretic text's version is widely used in current Bible. Besides height, the Bible also mentions that Goliath's armor or garment weighed about 60 to 64 kilograms. The giants from the Rephaim race, to which Goliath belonged, were likely similar in height to him. However, there is mention of another giant, not named but described by a fearsome stature, who was probably even larger than all the others. It is important to note that, in addition to versions of the Masoretic text and the Dead Sea Scrolls, scholars have proposed different measurements of cubits over time. These variations can lead to different estimations of Goliath's height. Nevertheless, the measurements mentioned above are the most well-known and widely accepted. The figure of Goliath continues to captivate curiosity and fascination to this day. His encounter with the young shepherd David has become one of the most renowned episodes in the Bible, symbolizing the victory of the weak over the strong. The story of David and Goliath remains an inspiration for many, serving as an example of courage, confidence, and faith. I hope this explanation about Goliath's height and related curiosities has been enlightening and interesting for all of you. The Bible is a rich source of captivating stories and characters that invite us to reflect on various aspects of life and faith. Until next time.